Um, hey, welcome to whichever channel you're watching this on. No Hype Beer Reviews. Let's see if I get it the right way. ThomasOpent. Hey, I pointed the right way.
Yay.
What's up, man? So this was
Awesome.
Thomas's idea. He's been great about trying to find a common beer with me, and I have been bad at it. So I'm glad we're finally doing it, brother.
Yeah, it's great, man. I mean, it's pretty difficult to get some common stuff going around. I guess it's easier for me to find American beers, but finding the same American beers, because your distro for each state is so different. Just because I could get it in the Netherlands doesn't necessarily mean you can get it in the States, right?
Yeah, like you would send me a Belching Beavers beer, which I've had their stuff, but I got it like through a service like I keep wanting to say Untapped. That's obviously not it, but Tavor, something like that. Where I'm like, oh, cool, this company I can order it through. But yeah, it's like not on the shelf near me. But anyway, so we kind of found a beer. So this is gonna be super fun.
Half and half.
So I looked for the can. I couldn't find it, but I'm like, I do have an aged bottle of this beer. So Thomas, it looks like has this year's.
From what we can figure, maybe somebody can help me out, because in the comments, if you know anything, mine says 22033, so 22033, and then the rest is a bit smudged, which makes me believe this was canned on somewhere in March of this year.
That's how I take it.
Yeah.
And then my bottle, when I bought it, I couldn't find any date, so I just wrote the year I bought it. So this is from 2014. So clearly it's the same beer, but let's talk about what's different. So the age,
there we go.
The age is different.
Let me just say what's on this, and then you can say what's on yours. So
I like
the newer version says huge Arker. Is Arker that's the right word, right? Huge Arker.
Yeah, it's an old mining, like when people went out west in the United States to mine. It's like a vernacular that they spoke. I was at the brewery once, and they had like an explanation of it. And it's like I don't know what this was, but it's like a slang term. I think it was a group of miners would use.
Okay. Oh, but we never even mentioned the brewery, by the way. It's Anderson Valley Brewing Company. We should have probably mentioned that at some point. Bourbon barrel-aged Imperial Stout. There we go.
Same.
Malt beverage, aged for 12 months in bourbon barrels. Now, here we go.
Different. Mine was aged 6 months.
ABV on mine is 15.5% ABV.
Also different on mine, 13.5.
But that's kind of funny, because we can see what a beer back then, and with a little bit of age, what it does, and if there's going to be huge differences in the profile in terms of the barrel aging, the ABV, and everything. And of course, you're the lucky dog here, because you have a bomber, and I have a 12-ounce.
Well, I tell you, it's 11 a.m. here, and I haven't eaten anything today, so I don't know if I'm the lucky one, but fair enough.
If I start getting weird messages in about 2 hours from now, I know you finished that bottle, and you're in for a great day.
I plan on capping it, eating something, doing some stuff, coming back to it later. The other thing I was going to say, I remember liking this. They have and had other barrel-aged stouts that they were cheap, so I would like buy them to infuse them with like coffee or vanilla beans, just to kind of experiment with it. But this one I remember liking. And the last thing we wanted to put out there to people in the comment section, if anyone knows, or people watching, to put in the comment section, for some reason we looked at their website, we couldn't find an answer. Even though they call it an Imperial Stout, it still says malt beverage aged 6 months. And I didn't see that with their other beers. Like it would just say ale, Goza ale. Whereas this one, they're calling it Imperial Stout, but then the finer print, they're calling it a malt beverage. So if anyone knows why they do that, comment section below, please.
The only thing I can suddenly think of, I'm not sure if I'm right, could it mean that maybe it's not 100% malt barley? That maybe they use corn or something else.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's interesting.
That it's not. I just suddenly popped to that maybe it's not 100%. But that's the thing, and I noticed this on some other American beers. It doesn't say anything about ingredients. Now, as far as I know, in the Netherlands, you have to put your ingredients on there. You have to put on like malted barley, oats, or whatever. And I often find American brewed beers where it doesn't say anything about anything like that. Is that not necessary by law?
It's not, and it drives me crazy. I know amongst our circle of friends, there's disagreement about if they should or shouldn't require it. I want everything I consume to have every ingredient listed, and it drives me crazy that beer doesn't have to do that. Yeah, it drives me absolutely up the wall.
From the respectable breweries, I'm not worried that there's going to be something tricky or bad in there, but I just like to know, hey, is it 100% malted barley, or is there oats, or is there lactose, for example?
That's a big one. That's the one I was thinking, like, especially people with like dairy allergies or things like that. It's like
nut allergies. We have a brewery here in the Netherlands, Moersleutel, who make a lot of pastry stouts with nuts in it. So even though they're non-nut stouts are, of course, brewed without nuts, they will still label the labels as in this product was made in a company, in a factory, a brewery, whatever, where nuts have been handled. So, be careful. They just put it on there just in case.
Yeah. I hope they washed their hands after they handled their nuts, but sorry.
Your first beer, right? Yeah, you're
yeah.
Okay, anyway.
Speaking of the beer, we should get into it.
Let's see who has the dirtiest glass, because that's been an issue for.
Well, I'm on a streak with dirty glasses. I don't get it. I didn't do anything different.
Me same here.
All that glitters is not Paliki gold.
Mine pours with sort of like the consistency and color of cola. So the opacity, the you know what I mean? The clearness of it, does that make the color of it, the way it pours, the thickness of it, that looked like cola.
Yeah, it's really dark brown, and then when it gets concentrated, it looks like it's stout. It definitely looks like a stout, but like it is black-ish with a lot of brown mixed in. I think you saying cola is spot on.
It's so odd. I really never expected that from something that gives you the impression. Also, my head seems to disappear a lot quicker than yours. That can be for so many reasons.
Yeah.
You do have a glass that sort of works better with maintaining a decent head. But look at how this is basically almost. I can put it here. You can see how it's almost gone.
Yeah. Yeah, mine.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't watch how you poured or anything, but I don't think it was probably that different. But yeah, but again, that's what, because we talked about, like, should we even do this review or not, since they're different. And at the time, we didn't realize how many differences. We just knew the age was different. But it's like, no, they'll make it fun. Like, what's the same worth getting? What's different? And this is like right out the gate. I think the beer looks the same, best we can tell with the cameras, but the head definitely different. Get the aroma.
Let's get that sucker going. I'm curious. Okay, so that's definitely very bourbon forward for me. I don't know how yours is after 8 years, but this is definitely very bourbon forward.
I get oak. Like, oak is the first thing I get. But again, 6 months versus 12 months. So it kind of, actually, to me, it makes a lot of sense. And like you said, the age of the beers while we're consuming, or when we're consuming them. But that extra 6 months, no wonder yours is getting more of that bourbon whiskey thing.
There is definitely everything from a bourbon, but here's the thing: every now and then you get a beer where you just immediately pick up all the different aromas. And here, the big thing first was just, if you ever open up a bottle of bourbon, a fresh bottle of bourbon, you open it up and you immediately get that whiff smell of bourbon, just undefined. It's just bourbon. That's what that was. There's hints now, very wet oak. I'm getting a soft char note. And the beginning, sometimes that, especially with those big bourbon barrel beers, any barrel aged beer, you need that. You need a couple of moments, sometimes more than half an hour, for the aroma to open up.
Yeah,
you have that. Now there's that lingering of that bubblegum sweetness thing, and a hint of vanilla. But still, it's mostly, what I'm getting is notes of bourbon. Everything you'd expect from a bourbon.
Everything you're saying about the bourbon is oak for me specifically. Like, but I get some char. I get You know what's really interesting is I'm getting this like charred marshmallow, which usually means I'm getting vanilla. I'm not getting much. I know I'm the vanilla police. I'm not getting much vanilla, but I am getting this charred marshmallow. So I guess like a burnt sugar note maybe is what that is.
I understand exactly what you mean because I've had that in some of those beers, but this is more towards, because like you just said, a burnt marshmallow, you start thinking like the burnt caramel, you get the burnt sugars.
Yeah.
This is more, if I remember correctly, American marshmallows usually have vanilla in them, right?
I associate marshmallow with a vanilla taste to some degree, yeah.
Here, it definitely is just more mellowed vanilla for me. Like if you take a vanilla pod, a decent vanilla pod, and you rub it a bit between your fingers and then smell that, you get like soft, you get that scent of, it could be sweet, but not like what you just said, the marshmallow thing. It definitely is more of a softer, mellow vanilla.
I have a vanilla bean. I might do an experiment with the rest of this bottle. Now I'm thinking about it.
That could be fun.
Now for the like stout, so we're talking a lot about barrel specifically, but the stout part of it, and again, this might be the age for me. It reminds me back in the day I would make hot chocolate, but I would use water. I didn't realize that some people would do milk, and it's like a watery chocolate kind of a smell. It's not super like luxurious chocolate is what I'm getting at.
Okay.
But again, that could be age. It could be a little stale. How about you for like typical stout notes?
That's what I'm trying to figure out here. And that bourbon is still a bit heavy. It's not super boozy, thankfully, but it's still quite present. I am getting that sort of caramel toffee note a little bit.
Ooh, okay.
And under that, it's mostly sort of like a roasted bitterness, sort of like from a generic cup of coffee. Nothing like bold roast, nothing like bold espresso or something. It's just like a generic roasted coffee sort of bitterness thing. I'm not really getting anything that reminds me of chocolate just yet.
That coffee, like watered down, like I'm talking about like the chocolate I'm getting. Yeah, it's like day old coffee that wasn't made particularly strong. So that sounds like we're getting the same note there. So that's cool.
The sort of like the caramel vibe that I'm getting, and this could be a combination of roast invoking a bit of a nutty thing every now and then. I am getting a little bit of like the sort of caramel that you could get from a chocolate candy bar, from like a Snickers or something like that. So there's that generic vibe of that sort of sweetness. But again, nothing very impactful, nothing very big or bold or huge. With all due respect to Anderson Valley, if they see this, I'm very sorry because I always hate if I talk negatively about a beer. I don't want to be too negative, but it's all a bit basic.
Yeah.
Which doesn't have to be a negative thing per se. It can still be enjoyable. It can still be, but I mean, let's just throw this out there. Season's coming up. What is the bourbon barrel aged beer that people are already talking about again?
Yeah.
You're looking at the ABV here. You're looking at 12 months for me in a bourbon barrel. That's one of the first things that you're going to think about.
Yeah.
It is no way near that level of richness, of thickness, of boldness.
It's not there,
the viscosity. Here's the thing. Matt always says this in his reviews as well. I say it often as well. I know we all do. You can't smell bitterness. You can't smell sweetness. You can't smell all of these things. It's associations with what you've tasted before. When you smell BCBS, you smell viscosity, you smell thickness and luscious mouthfeel. Same here. Nothing smells like it's going to be thick or
Exactly.
You want to go see what this tastes like?
I do.
So do I.
All right.
Cheers, buddy.
Thomas.
Ooh. Oh, wow. There's a heat there now. There's a heat. That took a while, but there's a heat coming.
Yeah. It hits you with the heat, with the dryness of it. Big.
Dry.
Back.
Here's a question. Definitely drying. Are you getting a sort of like an acrid burned bitterness thing?
Like burnt or
almost like, well, acrid, burnt, dry. So have you ever had, I know you're vegan, but were you always vegan, or have you eaten
No, I haven't always been, yeah.
Okay, so do you remember if you had barbecue and you had a little bit of a char going on, but it just went too far?
Yeah, yeah.
The burned, acrid bitterness from like that. And interestingly, why does it remind me of that? There's sort of like a licorice thing, which can be a savory note, which reminds me specifically of savory birds. That's what I'm getting in the background here.
So this is another similarity we're having. Like the last moment there's still wetness from the beer on my palate, I get black licorice. And then that we both had the same experience where it's like this, not alcohol burn, but yeah, like this big warmth. And then, yeah, like this burnt beyond charred note. So that's definitely the same.
Right? It's weird. Cool. I'm not really sure what to. I have this thing, by the way. I'm so sorry. I always take pictures when I do live streams like this. I like or recordings. I like to take a picture for Instagram where you can see the setup and then tag you in it. So that's what I'm definitely gonna do.
Am I in the picture, or
do you want? I can make you be in the picture, or at least you're we're both in the picture now, and you're fuzzy. You're fuzzy in the background, but the smile works because you can see your teeth.
Yay!
So see, that's something that can go on. Is that social media worthy? It's social media worthy.
There it goes.
I don't get.
Once you put a nice filter on it, it'll look great.
How do I make us look good with any kind of filter?
Crop us out. That's how.
Crop us out. That's it. But yeah, back to the beer. That basic. Now, if I look for it, if I focus on it, yeah, there's again that sort of, I'm not going to say weak coffee, but generic filter drip coffee. There's a little bit of caramel. I'm still not getting a lot of chocolate. If I'm getting chocolate, it's because that caramel vibe, the coconut vibe from the bird. Are you getting coconut, by the way? I'm getting a little bit of coconut.
For me, it's a lot like I was getting aroma where I get oak specifically. And you can get coconut. It doesn't have to be, bourbon barrel aging to get coconut, but
true.
For me, it's oak, it's char, it's almost like graham cracker, but the ones that don't have the cinnamon or sugar on it. Those are the big notes I'm getting, actually.
So here's a theory that I have. I think you had, because you mentioned before we started it, that you liked this beer and that you saved one and kept a bottle.
Yeah.
Here is where I have a theory, and I could be completely wrong. I'm not saying I hate it, but I'm also not very impressed. It's a bit thin. It's a bit two-dimensional, and the acrid bitterness is a bit too big. I think they were onto something when they made your version. Started realizing where the market was going, even bigger, bolder beers, longer and longer aged, and realized, let's get up in that game.
Yeah.
And sort of lost track.
Yeah.
And then this happened, which is, this could have definitely, if this was 6 months in a barrel, it would have been perfect. Yeah. If this had a lower ABV and a higher viscosity, all those flavors would immediately be completely different. I am not getting a lot of carbonation on mine, by the way. So maybe that's the thing as well.
That is interesting. One of the things too, so 2014, how different beer was. Also, so like 2012, I had a Bourbon County from that year. That was the first time, and so it was the end of 2012 because it comes out in November. That was the first time I had one. I was like, I love this style. So then it's, a month later, you're in 2013. Hard to find bourbon barrel aged stouts at that time. So the fact that I could get this and I had less of them it has to also be another reason why I liked this enough to like buy an additional bottle to age. And then beer changed, and now I have had way more barrel aged stouts, and preferences can change. And also, I mean, to be fair to this beer, 8 years is past its prime. So like the one I'm specifically drinking, obviously.
It's an interesting note because many breweries will still always say, and I do understand that point of view. Drink the beer when we release it. Don't age it. This is the beer that we thought was perfect as it is. Drink it now. This is what we intended to make.
Yeah.
Which is an easy statement because, let's be honest, many IPAs these days are being rushed out of the brewery. Should have had more time in the tank. Give it those 4 weeks in the tank, not 2 or 2.5. Some of these barrel-aged beers are being released while they, I feel, are still way too sharp and harsh. Could use some months to mellow out.
Yeah.
Sorry, a little fruit fly. Yeah. This could be one of your Thursday videos, your conversational videos. How much has beer changed in the last 10 years?
Yeah.
And has the demand for certain styles, an IPA, created a rushed brewing process or production process, not just the brewing, but the entire production process. This is an interesting topic for a video.
And I think this is a good case study, like you correctly pointed out. They must have seen what was coming. Like you said, I mean, yours is 2% higher alcohol and twice the aging. So definitely, and I'm not going to knock anyone, let alone a brewery, trying to stay current and relevant. I mean, you see breweries close that don't, follow trends to some degree. So yeah, I'm not going to fault them for it. And I mean, if I had these two sitting side by side, I'd pick the one that had the higher ABV and was aged longer because
we have this impression, higher ABV, aged for longer. This must be better. Yeah, give me more. Give me everything. Yeah. Give me my. This is going to be the trend. I'm going to predict it. Give me my quadruple tequila barrel aged IPA. And like that's going to be the trend. I swear to God, that's going to be the next thing for the next summer.
A friend of mine just sent me an article, and it's essentially how like beer seems to be going to the polars. Like people either want the 15% barrel aged stouts or like 3-4% super light beers, and like that's an interesting take. I forget which person, like which organization put out this article, but it was an interesting idea.
I've got to be honest. I'm at the beginning of my second week of 2 weeks off of work, my holiday break and everything. I have been just really relaxing, watching a lot of movies, watching a lot of TV shows, and just basically doing two things, fucking all, and been drinking beers. And it was either like the low ABV jammers or big ass, barley wine stouts, barrel aged or not, quads, everything in the double digits, because I just felt like I wanted to. And I just realized, looking at my fridge, like, oh man, I just suddenly have a lot of 7% ABV IPAs and I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
So I do understand that article. There is definitely truth.
I think there's some truth to that. And like for how long, like I love double IPAs, but how long have, it's been like, but could they make like an IPA that drinks like a double IPA or a session IPA that's like 4% alcohol, but it drinks like a 6% IPA or whatever, yeah, I mean, people want their cake and eat it too, right? Like they want it like low ABV, but they have the higher ABV taste, or they want to go all in. And this is an evening where I'm drinking this bottle of 15%. Yeah,
it's about so many things. I mentioned that thing in the chat a couple of days ago where I sent this comment on a web shop here in the Netherlands where you could select high ABV or low ABV.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and low ABV was 8% or lower.
Oh yes, we did.
Yeah, remember?
Yeah, because I said on my channel 8% is low alcohol
for you. Yeah, but exactly. But since when is 7.9% ABV low in alcohol?
Yeah.
Since when? Remember when we started seeing IPAs that were 7.5%? We were like,
yeah.
And I still get this in the shop where I work every now and then. People are like, I don't want anything high ABV. Oh, I'm like, oh, so nothing above 10%? They were like, no, nothing above 7.
Yeah.
That's considered like high ABV. So it's a fun, it's a dynamic shift when it comes to how do we perceive beer and what do we perceive as desirable. And yeah, I guess, I don't know. But back to the beer itself. I don't hate it. I'll probably finish it.
Oh, I'm not loving this either. I mean, and again, to be fair to them, 8 years, you know, in the bottle, so that's on me. But and again, I think from 8 years ago, I've just had so many way better beers in this style. And I like Anderson Valley. I mean, this is, you know, I like plenty of stuff that they make, and I've enjoyed their brewery, so I'm not like writing them off or whatever. But yeah, for me, I'll put it this way: if I could go back in time and be like, you know, hey, don't drink that or don't buy that bottle. It's not going to be worth aging it.
or buy it, but give it like 2 or 3 years instead of 8.
Or drink it fresher, maybe.
Yeah, drink it fresher.
Yeah.
I think what I'm going to do, because I can't cap it like you can, but I can put like a coaster or something over the glass. I think I'm just going to give this drink something low ABV, like maybe like a session IPA or something in between. Make some dinner and get back to this in maybe like an hour or so or 2. I know in a glass, saving it like that, even if it has a coaster over it, it's not ideal. But I just want to see if some of that alcohol bitterness, alcohol burn mellows off, and just if that bitterness changed. Because I don't know about you, but I've sometimes noticed that higher ABV can emphasize, you know, the bitterness. And maybe if it breathes a little bit, I'm not saying that's going to lower the ABV, but gives the harsh edge, take that off in like an hour or 2 and see what happens. And I'm very curious if you could send me a message later or I'll probably be in bed by then because of the time difference. But if you can send me a message, like, how did this beer develop for you over the rest of the day and what it's doing at the end of the day for you? I'm very curious, and I will let you know what this does, because even though I don't hate it per se, I am going to finish it later on just to see what happens. This is not what I would call a very enjoyable bourbon barrel aged imperial malt beverage.
Yeah. I have it came actually with a can of dog food I bought, but I'll try to find one. But it's a plastic lid, and so like I open up the wet dog food. I don't use the whole thing. I can put this on, put it in the refrigerator, but it fits on cans. It fits on crowlers. So I want to get another one because I use that one for dog food, but so I can
use
put it on top of cans.
Yeah, that would be lovely, because then you can just pour it back and then, you know, put that on and give it like put it in the fridge, give it like a day or whatever. Yeah. So last thoughts for you for this beer?
Yeah, I mean, 2014 No Hype beer reviews, which didn't exist then. Really liked this beer, and it was hard to, you know, this one, the Bourbon County once a year, and Bell's Black Note, I think were the only ones I could really get back then, like without trading. But yeah, 2022 No Hype. This isn't too much for me. Yeah.
This is definitely no hype.
And again, I like Anderson Valley. Nothing against them as a brewery; they do make really good beer. But yeah, this just, I mean, you maybe like as an intro, like if you're like a kind of like stouts and whiskeys, so like there's a beer that's both. Like maybe this is a good starting point, but this is not a good. You know, you've had world class ones, then you come to this. It's not in that conversation.
What I will say as a positive, with the euro dollar being basically the same right now, I think this was like €8.
Okay.
So in terms of, you know, best bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Well, is it best bang? But in terms of the price, quantity, barrel aged stout from America, for me, I mean, usually something like this would be a little bit more pricey. Yeah. All in all, at least it gave us a fun review and a chance to do something together again.
Exactly.
And that's awesome.
So if you're watching this on whichever channel and you're not subscribed to the other person, that's weird. So we will put information in the description box, so you can go to the other person's channel and make sure you subscribe. Yeah.
As we all know in the group, Ryan over there is one of the best dudes out there.
Ridiculous. We have gone for about 30 minutes of enjoyable time, and I just ruined it at the end. If you're watching this on my channel, don't even go to Thomas's channel. He barely reviews in English, so you won't understand what he has to say anyway. So
I just recorded one yesterday. just for you, because it was a bourbon barrel aged big beer. I figured, you know what?
Yeah.
Kyle.
All right, you can go to his channel and check him out, I guess. All right. So just on both of our channels, generic signing off.
And for my Dutch viewers, just make sure you follow No Hype Beer Reviews. Go follow Kyle. Go check his shit out, because his show and his shit and everything. And make sure you go there, hit that subscribe button and the notifications and everything. I'm going to already, by the way, by the time this comes out, it's going to be about a month off. So I am already going to wish you a very happy Beer Chugapalooza.
It's coming up. It's coming up. It's coming up. It's going to be fun.
If you guys are doing anything live, I'll try and join.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun. We haven't talked about that kind of thing yet. We'll talk about that. I like that. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for the idea, Thomas. Thanks for, I'm been so lame about initiating any sort of hangs with anyone. So I appreciate your tenacity. Like, well, what about this beer? Well, what about this beer? So it was awesome and had a lot of fun. And
same, bro. Same. It was fun.
Bye, YouTube.
Check you later. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.